Football is awesome. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Friday Night Roots. I'm your host, Justin Thomas. Do me a huge favor before we jump into it. Like the video if you can, share the video if you're willing, and subscribe if you can. I appreciate all the love I can get. Not that I deserve it. I have like 3 subscribers, but do me a favor if you can. Really appreciate the love. Back in the chair, and I'm so stoked to be back. So stoked to be back talking ball. Favorite thing, the thing I'm most passionate about, I'd say, probably the thing I'm most passionate about. So super stoked to be back, and as you all can see, all 3 of you, hey mom, a change of scenery. Got myself an office. I actually recently moved, still living in the greater Sacramento area, but yeah, lately I've just been grinding. I've just been working, and I think this off season, I did start this channel kind of on the latter half of last year. And it's just been hard for me. I'll be honest. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of news, especially right after the season. There's kind of that dead period. Then you have the OTA contract drama. Then now it's like where the real exciting stuff starts. So I'm super pumped to kind of dive into training camp and cover a little bit of what we missed over the summer. So yeah, I've just been busy. I've been living life, and got myself an office now, so I don't have to make videos in my bedroom, and just kind of pour my time and effort back into this now that I'll have a full season. And hopefully at the end of this upcoming season, I'll be able to just have the motivation, the drive to continue to make videos, even, in the quiet times, right? The last thing I want to do is become a channel where I am simply sitting here and filling you guys with just bullshit. I don't want that. I don't want to be seen that way. I don't want you guys to go, oh, he's one of those guys talking about Shador for the 5th day in a row. I'm good. I don't ever want to become that. I want to stay genuine. There's definitely plenty I could have talked about too this summer, but I started the channel in the latter half of last year. I just thought, I'm going to wait till this year picks up. We're going to do it right, do it all the way through the year, and then try and stick with it as best we can. So super pumped to be back with you guys and talking ball, my favorite thing to do. I just don't have any particular interest in filling you guys with bullshit. So that's why, super stoked. This is the best time of year, right? Still pretty hot outside here in the great state of California, but as the weather starts to turn, it's probably won't get cooler yet, but it's starting to get cooler. Fantasy football teams their group chats are starting to light up. We're starting to plan fantasy football drafts. You can kind of smell that August, September air brewing, and cold fronts coming in, getting ready to start football season. And to me, there's just no better time like it during the year. This is just the best time of year, and I'm just so excited to be sitting here and talking ball. So, as of tomorrow, all 32 NFL teams will be officially reporting to training camp. So why not start the YouTube channel back up and get the ball rolling for this next year now that all 32 teams are kind of starting training camp here. So I don't even know where to begin, but holy cow, I've got some notes here, but holy cow, we have missed so much, I haven't talked about everything that has happened. Obviously, I'm not going to make an hour-long video recovering everything, but I'll kind of give a short synopsis and throw in a quick opinion with each kind of talking point, and then we'll kind of wrap it up for the first video back. And I'm going to go, I do plan on, when I'm doing this, I do plan on doing a video a day, every day, Monday through Monday, just trying to keep up. There might be a few missed days here and there if I'm busy. I know I'm going on vacation the first week. I'm going on vacation the first week of September, so I actually am going to be missing the week 1 slate of games. I'll still be watching them, but I'll be on vacation. But I'll probably still upload a video, so keep an eye out for that. But that time will be a little challenging, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there, right? So yeah, so let's just dive right into it and do my favorite thing. Let's talk some ball. Holy crap, this offseason is just like any other offseason. Free agency was crazy. Draft was crazy. It was all crazy, right? There's just so much going on, and I don't want to label it all as news like some, media sources and other YouTube people and analysts like to do. I don't want to label it all news. It's not all news. It's just day-to-day activity of off-season NFL, right? So, yeah, let's just start. The notes I have right here, let's just start with the Steelers. They have a very uncharacteristically active offseason. So usually the Steelers are pretty boring. They traded for DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, and they signed Darius Slay and Aaron Rodgers. Darius Slay coming from the Super Bowl. from the Eagles, and then they traded away Minkah Fitzpatrick and George Pickens. The Minkah Fitzpatrick one really surprised me. George Pickens surprised me also, but George Pickens is one of those diva wide receivers. I think the Steelers just got honestly just tired of dealing with it. But to be fair to the George Pickens, the Steelers just turned around and brought back in DK Metcalf, who I don't remember the stat exactly, but had like the most personal foul penalty yards of any receiver or something crazy like that. Super hothead, super diva as well. So I don't know. Just a weird flex, I guess, from the Steelers. But the big thing from the Steelers is Aaron Rodgers and probably DK. I mean, those are the two biggest moves. Of course, adding a veteran like Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, who's supposedly, from all the analysts I hear, has a ceiling way up here. Don't know. I don't really have a spectacular opinion on the guy. Based on the eye test, I don't think he stood out on the page for me, but that's just me personally. The big one's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's a shocker. We kind of all knew it, but as of recently, according to the Pat McAfee show, this is Aaron's last year, going out on a bang. I think he just kind of wants to be relevant and then to tuck it in. My opinion on how the Steelers are going to do with all these changes and additions and adjustments, I don't know. I think the Steelers are going to be exactly the fucking same. I think they're going to go average, and just like always, I don't think they're going to be anything special. And I love Mike Tomlin. I can't take anything away from Mike Tomlin. He's a winner. It's so hard to always be as positive or have a winning record or always make play. It's really hard to do that. The fact that he's done that's amazing, but I think in his best interest and the Steelers' best interest, maybe it's time to create a little separation and just fresh start. Tomlin, based on his winning record alone, will get himself another head coaching job, I really believe. So I think, I don't know, we'll see how the Steelers play out. Aaron Rodgers was a great move. I'm glad they didn't put all their cards in that basket, meaning that they're just giving him $10 million just to kind of, get our fans back in it for a season and kind of go from that. And then they also extended TJ Watt, which, I'll go into in just a minute. So, yeah, Steelers, big moves. And then, the biggest note I have here is QB changes. Tons of QB changes. We got Geno Smith to the Raiders. Not going to lie, I thought maybe the Raiders with Tom Brady were going to make a play for Sam Darnold, and I thought that could be the next outcome that made the most sense. But I guess, based on the reports I've been reading, is that the Raiders didn't want Sam Darnold, and they were unsure. Now, is Geno Smith that guy? I don't know, but at least Geno Smith has some familiarity with, Pete Carroll. So at least he has some at least he knows Pete Carroll, and at least they have some history playing together. And Geno had his best year with Pete Carroll. So I don't think that's the worst move in the world. It'll be interesting to see. The Raiders have made huge adjustments, huge team changes. So I'm super happy for the Raiders. I've talked about them a little bit already, so we'll keep on moving. Sam Darnold to the Seahawks, 3-year, $100 million. That was a big deal. Sam's contract wasn't as big as I thought it would be, but when people said those last two Viking games he was going to lose money, I think he really did lose some money. Like that wasn't a lie. That wasn't a joke. He really did possibly lose a substantial amount of capital based on the way he played. He just kind of folded the last two games. Kind of had that Jared Goff-esque playoff presence where you put enough pressure on him, the guy just doesn't do well. So Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. We'll see how he does with the defensive coach and Mike McDonald. Not sure how I feel about it. They got Cooper Kupp. They got Jackson Smith and Jigba. So looks like they're running it back with the same running backs. I don't know. I'm a Niners guy, clearly. But I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about the Seahawks. And that's not coming from a place of, complete separation from the Niners. I just don't know. And I think a lot of people don't know. The NFC West, other than the Rams, including the Niners, is kind of a question mark right now. So we'll have to see how that goes. Daniel Jones to the Colts. Don't know. Colts are just fucking desperate at this point. I'm always critical of Daniel Jones because I thought the Giants were stupid when they gave him that $40 million contract. I thought that was the dumbest thing they could have ever done in their whole existence. I know Daniel Jones, and I don't want to knock Daniel Jones too hard. I know he's still a baller and a professional football player, and I'm sitting in here with a YouTube channel called Friday Night Roots with 30 subscribers, so I'm not that exciting. But no, I just think Daniel Jones, to be fair, he was on the Giants, a pretty dysfunctional organization in general, as it always is. So who knows? Maybe Danny Dimes comes out and just starts dropping heat on the Colts. I mean, that would be cool. That would be cool. I hope he does, and maybe give the Texans a little run for their money. They just have it so easy over there. I hope somebody can help help slow down the Texans, because they're just making playoffs just because they're not shit. That's why. So who knows? Super excited for the Colts. I love Steichen. I think Steichen's awesome. I just think the Colts have never really just had a culture around that's been enough for what they need. Or enough. Sorry, I don't think they've had enough players around to be enough for what they need. So, Justin Fields going to the Jets. I don't know what do you want me to say. Justin Fields going to the Jets is like, there's just no comparison of like, are they going to be the exact same? I really do like Aaron Glenn. I love anybody tied to MCDC. Dan Campbell. I love Dan Campbell. I rewatch his Hard Knocks constantly. Motivating, tough mouth football. Learned under Sean Payton. I mean, he knows his stuff. It's just, I don't know. The Lions are kind of at that tipping point where they paid a lot of people and they had a big push, and Johnson's gone. Aaron Glenn's gone. I know I have the faith in Dan Campbell. I just don't know. I think Aaron Glenn does a great job there. I just don't know. So we'll just have to see how that goes for them. Russell Wilson to the Giants. Hate it. I hate it. Nothing more to say about that. I think Russ is, the Giants at this point are just hoping Russ has got a little left in the tank, a little left, in his arm to spin it a little bit. Check down Merchant probably. I think with Malik Neighbors they can make something of themselves, but I don't know. It's going to be a long year for them, especially when they're competing with the Commanders, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. More the Commanders than the Eagles. The Cowboys, we'll see about them too. Wide receiver changes. Stephon Diggs to the Patriots. Hated it. They overpaid the crap out of him. Listen, if you're a wide receiver and you're watching this video, which is fucking nobody, but if you ever are, go to free agency, because teams will overpay the shit out of you in free agency, and that's exactly what happened. Patriots said, we want a big name, call Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs answered the phone. They put a couple M's in front of him, and he was like, sure, way too much, overpaid. Once again, the Patriots, a lot of people have pegged to be that comeback team this year, the team that kind of makes that adjustment, that makes that big change to ultimately become an awesome football team this year. I guess we'll see. It's just we'll see. I don't know. I love Drake May. I love what, I love what Mike Vrabel's doing. I love Mike Vrabel in general. I mean, the Titans should have never fired him, but do I feel comfortable sitting here and saying that Stephon Diggs is the answer to all their problems? No, not even in the slightest. Deebo Samuel, obviously to the Commanders. I think I made a video about that just before I stopped making videos for the summer. Deebo Samuel to the Commanders. Love the pick. For what they got him for, I don't think it was a bad pickup. It really just comes down to how well he plays, because he is in a contract year. This is it for his contract. I think he's owed $17 million, which the Commanders ended up taking all of it. So it'll be interesting to see how Cliff Kingsbury throws him in with Jane Daniels and Eckler and Robinson. I love how fresh, unique, and unknown they are. And I think that's really what put them on the map last year, was like they had all these names who we knew, I think, had talent, like Scary Terry McLaurin, but we never really knew the full potential with a guy who could sling it. And that Washington Commanders team is definitely primed and definitely ready to set up another run, as long as they can keep that fresh, creative mindset. Dan Quinn has done an excellent job. It reminds me a lot of Dan Campbell, the way he's kind of put together and built the system around the quarterback. So and their new GM Adam Peters, who I think is doing an amazing job there as well. So who knows? Cooper Kupp to the Seahawks. Yeah, this is a great I think value pick. I think Cooper Kupp still has plenty left in the tank. I'm one of the guys who probably goes against the grain on that. A lot of people say, Cooper Kupp's getting old, he's getting slow. He's already not the biggest guy in the world, so now you're adding this third layer of bringing him into the Seahawks after getting rid of DK. But I don't hate the move. DK's big and tall, and he's your deep threat, go up and catch it receiver, whereas Cooper Kupp's kind of your 1 out yard, sit, catch the ball, and get some yak. I think that could be better for Mike McDonald and the culture he's building there. Also, I think it could be better for Sam Darnold. Like get those gimme plays, get Sam Darnold warm in these games, get him cooked, and then just let him take off and hopefully ride the train to those victories. So the biggest one that I think in terms of receivers is Devontae Adams to the Rams. I mean that is a substantial change. Super excited for Devontae Adams and the Rams. Super scared for my Niners. The Rams are already they're just well coached. That's simple. They got a gunslinger at quarterback of Matt Stafford. That's simple. I mean, you got a quarterback and some half decent players. I mean, you're top echelon in this league. That's how competitive the NFL is. You have a quarterback and 5 decent players. I mean, you can really make something out of that with good coaching and a good quarterback. So I think Devontae Adams to the Rams is epic. I think if anyone can utilize Devontae Adams' strengths at this point in his career, at this age, I think it's Sean McVay. I think he's the only one who can do that. So super excited for Devontae and the Rams. Not looking forward to playing them this year, but it's gonna be pretty awesome for the Rams. So let's jump into the coaching carousel. I did a couple videos before I stopped making videos about the coaching carousel. Who got hired where? Ben Johnson of the Bears. Brian Schottenheimer, Pete Carroll, Mike Vrabel, Kellen Moore, Liam Cohen, Aaron Glenn. I'll go just kind of pound through, just give some basic opinions, and then we'll a few more things, and then we'll kind of get out of here. So, Ben Johnson to the Bears. I love Ben Johnson, and I mean, the best coaching job was the Bears. I mean, let's just call it how it is. Like they have a quarterback, at least we think, right? They have a quarterback. They're clearly their GM has invested a ton of money, and they were on the same page in terms of investing a ton of money in the trenches, O-line, D-line, trying to stabilize that offense, trying to slow it down a little bit, give Caleb that time that most quarterbacks dream of to get rid of the ball a little sooner. He's already kind of a quick release guy, but I think this will just only elevate his game. I think if anything, the way Ben Johnson got the most out of Jared Goff is pretty impressive. So did Sean McVay. But I just think Ben Johnson did an excellent job of taking a guy like Jared Goff who really can't move his feet and turned him into like this gunslinger. And I'm not saying that Caleb will become this foot-planted gunslinger, but I do think like now Ben Johnson's also got a guy who can move a little bit. Maybe not stand there and throw as accurately. I'm not sure. I don't want to be the one to say that, but that's great for them. Brian Schottenheimer, Cowboys, don't know anything about the guy. I did some research on him. Still don't know anything about him. We'll see. I think he's on a high alert for a one and done. I think if the Cowboys come out and have just a mediocre-ass year, Jerry Jones is pretty loyal, but I just think if they have a mediocre-ass year, he's gone. I mean, I just don't. He's not a house name. He's not a big name. He's not flashy. He's not shiny. He's not Jerry Jones is what he's not. So we'll see how that goes. Pete Carroll to the Raiders. I already talked about that. Great pickup by the Raiders. I mean, they didn't have a whole lot of options once they knew Ben Johnson was out. Not a bad pickup. If anything, I think the Raiders, they're the ones you got to look out for coming on that big return other than the Patriots. So, Mike Vrabel, I already kind of talked about that. Mike Vrabel's great. I don't even need to say much. I think he'll big culture guy. He, obviously he's returning to the Patriots, but big culture guy for them. There's just nothing that you can't with Mike when it comes to Mike Vrabel. There's just nothing that you can put your finger on that just makes him awesome other than the fact that he's just awesome. I mean, everyone talks so highly of him, so highly of his football, acumen and how smart he really is for the game. And not only that, when you put those pads on, there's no comparison to the knowledge you get when you're actually, behind that face mask. So super happy for Mike Vrabel. I think the Patriots have a big turnaround. They invested a ton of money in the trenches. Also, a little too much in the receiver room. They did need to give Drake May some weapons and help him spread out. So now it's more like, all right, Drake May, let's see what you can do. We saw a little bit. Let's see the full version. Kellen Moore to the Saints from the Eagles. Yeah, I don't love this simply because it's the Saints. The Saints are in cap hell. I understand you really may only get that head coaching opportunity in the NFL 1 or 2 times in your entire life, and the money's so big nowadays that it's hard to look at an NFL team and say, no, I can't fix that. Like, especially when, they're putting 10, 12, $13 million in front of you as a head coach these days. It's just, how do you say no to that? Like, so I understand his predicament and why he took the job, but I just don't think the Saints are going to be any different than they were last year, unfortunately. Sorry, Kellen Moore. Hopefully you prove me wrong. Liam Cohen, Jaguars. I think I talked about him. Love the pick. love the pickup by them. You know, obviously he's a Sean McVay guy and then a Todd Bowles guy at the Bucks, and he's an excellent offensive coordinator, beautiful offensive mind. Anyone who trained under Sean McVay, especially like that Shanahan McVay tree, you gotta love it. Those guys are usually the best offensive minds in the game. They're usually the smartest. Now, how does that relate to him being a good coach and having the right personnel around his players to make the Jaguars relevant again? Well, the Jaguars are known for firing coaches, and they do it more often than I'm sure a lot of people would like to admit. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays out. That plays out the next couple of years, and we'll go into more in depth throughout the season about the Jaguars as time goes on. So, Aaron Glenn, Jets, kind of talked about him a lot. Kind of went on a tangent about Dan Campbell as well, but Aaron Glenn, he's great. He's got that coach player mentality. Been behind the face mask before, clearly. Good guy. You know, he just went to one of the worst organizations in NFL history. So, with that being said, I guess we're just going to have to see. Dysfunctional organizations do dysfunctional things, as Mike Florio always says. We'll just have to see how it goes, right? There's not much more else you can say. Rule changes. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the list of I have of when it comes to, that's probably pretty much it when it comes to like the list of big player and coaching changes. Big extensions happened. TJ Watt happened, so super pumped for TJ Watt. Let's see, who else? Myles Garrett, they both reset the market. Why the Browns paid Myles Garrett? Why the Browns paid Myles Garrett $40 million. Not that he didn't deserve it to be the highest paid, but did you really have to blow it out of the water that bad? Well, I guess you did because he wanted to leave. So, yeah, I guess they did. But then the Steelers came back, hit TJ with 41. Who the hell knows what the Cowboys are going to do with Micah Parsons? I mean, at this point, you know what Mike is asking for, 41.1 is exactly the conversation he's having. It's exactly the conversation his agent's having. But unfortunately, I personally don't think he's worth it. Sorry. And I know Niners rivals, you're probably thinking, oh, he's just a stupid. No. I don't think he's worth it. As a true ball player who played his position before, I don't think he's worth it. I think he's a dedicated football player who clearly loves football, so I'll give him that. I'm all for people who love ball, but I don't know if his production paired with his little bumps and bruises is worth $41.1 million or even $40 million. I mean 36, 37, sure, but I don't know. I just don't see it. I know what his agent and him are going to push for, so it'll be interesting to see how that kind of wraps up and comes to an end. Rule changes. This is kind of a less exciting topic to talk about, but a lot happened this offseason, so we're going to keep on rolling. Rule changes, tush push remains legal despite the ban attempts. It needed was it like 3 to 7 votes? 7 more votes? 3 more votes? 4 more votes? Something like that. It didn't get banned. I'm one of those who's impartial. I see both sides. Like, can't beat it, can't beat it. Like, learn how to stop it, right? But on the contrary, it does not look like a football play. So it's kind of one of those weird things. And then there was this big conversation about, just ban pushing players in the back. You can't do that because that has been such a vital part of football since I was young. I mean, maybe you can. I don't know. I just don't love the idea of just players not being allowed to push a player in the back forward. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think I like that thought process and approach to that problem. So, kickoff touchbacks now start at the 35-yard line. Yeah, we're not shocked about that. Nobody at that point, it wasn't even worth it for teams to run it out. They were just like, yeah, we're just gonna let it go to the 30. Screw it. Overtime, both teams are now guaranteed possession time in the regular season overtime. So basically, it's no longer first to score. Now you're both guaranteed possession time, even if the first team scores. So that's pretty cool, and I love that. And then replay assist got expanded. Shocker. Referees can now fix clear errors without challenges. I love that. Oh, I love that. Especially when they call a face mask that wasn't, or they miss a face mask that wasn't, or they call something that shouldn't have been called. I love that. I love it so much. Everyone's going to love it. There was a little bit of Aaron Rodgers drama. I don't really want to go into it much. I have it written down in my notes, but I don't feel like talking about it. Obviously, he signed that 1 year, $13 million deal with like $10 million guaranteed. And then, of course, he said likely it'll be his last season. Then clearly he got married. Nobody knows who it is. Probably won't know for a while. The NFL Players Association. And this is kind of big news for me, not because of the impact it has directly with the NFL, more the players itself. Obviously, the director, Lloyd Howell, resigned amid a big FBI investigation of conflict of interest and improper expense reports. And then J.C. Treader also resigned. Arbitration controversy is still ongoing. So we'll have to see how that plays out and what was going on in the NFL Players Association. But I'm a big fan of the NFL Players Association just simply because of kind of the backup and support it gives these players and how it supports them. So super pumped to see who fills those shoes and hopefully does it properly, right? Big contracts. I kind of talked about some of them. TJ Watt, $41 million per year. Myles Garrett, Max Crosby was like the highest. Max Crosby was like the highest paid for like 3 minutes. Then Myles Garrett broke. Josh Allen just signed the biggest guaranteed contract in history. He got a 6-year, $330 million extension. Holy crap, that's a ton of money. I think it's $55 million per year APY with the guaranteed money, or no, without the guaranteed money. Yeah, $55 million APY, $250 million guaranteed, which is the largest guarantee in NFL history, which is absolutely insane, absolutely incredible. I mean, name someone more deserving of Josh Allen. Not many. Saquon Barkley got a 2-year, $41.2 million extension. Shocker, he just won the Super Bowl. He's probably got like 2 good years left. That's just how running backs are in this league. So happy for him. He deserved it. And as of real recent, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner. Yeah, I both getting close to 30. I believe it or not, based on how the NFL market is going, I don't hate what they paid both of those guys. I think they're both worth it. Any other team I think would have paid them, and I think if they were on other teams to begin with, they would be better performers. That's simple, and I think that's why you're kind of seeing the reflection of that pay. So when everyone gets all mad and upset, like keep in mind the Jets aren't paying a quarterback. They're not paying 17 different linebackers and safeties. They just got. I mean, those two are really the all-stars, I would say, on that team for now. We'll see kind of how that develops. You never really know. So yeah. Of course, Kirby Joseph, and then 2 other huge, massive ones. The ones we were all kind of really waiting for. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. I mean, that handcuff and pairing is crazy. I mean, you guys remember the 2019 LSU team with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. Unstoppable, unfair of a football team. I mean, it was one of those teams you just couldn't slow down. You couldn't stop them. So super pumped for all those guys getting paid. Love seeing players getting paid. NFL draft, don't want to talk about it much. Shedeur Sanders dropped to the 5th round. Not going to talk about that. Don't care. Listen, a lot of people are, we have this big conversation surrounding it. Like, what do you think the primary cause of Shedeur dropping to the 5th? In my opinion, I think it was 2 things. I think the reason Shedeur Sanders dropped to the 5th, the first reason is simple uncertainty. I don't think it was a racist thing. I don't think it was I don't think it was necessarily directly a skill thing. I think it was just an uncertainty. Not an outstanding college record, to say the least. Not a ton of accentuational wins. I still think it's an outstanding quarterback. I think he's way better than Dylan Gabriel. But I think also that paired with the PR nightmare that his dad could be for a lot of these less well-off football teams is a huge factor. I think, like, if you're one of those coaches like, the Giants coach, Mike Dayball, and you're kind of on the fence and the GM or the owner's on the fence with you, and he's considering making that consideration of firing you, but he's giving you one more chance, do you want to deal with the PR nightmare of, Coach Prime tweeting out at you and coming for your job? Probably not. So I don't hate I just think it was way blown out of proportion. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Travis Hunter, drafted number 2 overall by the Jaguars. I love the pick. I don't know if I would have given up all the shit they gave up for it, but this is what confuses me. I am a firm believer, and I will die on this hill, that you can play both ways for like a few weeks, maybe a 1 full season. After that, I think Travis Hunter, I can see him playing offensive special teams. That I could see 10 out of 10 times. But when you're playing offense and defense, and at his height and weight, he's just going to get beat up. I'm sure he's a good tackler. I'm sure I know he's a great yak and catcher. So, like, I know he's going to do well on offense. I don't expect a guy his size at this level coming from a school like Colorado. He didn't come from Ohio State. He didn't come from Michigan. He didn't come from Oregon. He didn't come from any of those Big Ten, Texas. He didn't come from an SEC school. I just don't see. I think it's going to be harder than he thinks. That's all I'm going to say. We'll circle back around to that conversation at a different time. Big retirements. Nothing too crazy. Derek Carr, he was done. Mike Williams, he was done. Brandon Graham, done. Tyron Smith, done. Nothing too surprising there. Derek Carr had a great career. I mean, he can't be any more happy or less happy than what kind of he provided up until this point. So super happy for him. And then some. Let's kind of finish it out with some just random drama. I had some in my notes. Legal issues. Jordan Addison had a DUI resolved with probation. Rashee Rice got his final sentencing yesterday. He got sentenced to 2 days ago. Sentenced to 30 days in jail plus 5 years of probation for the high speed. If you ask me, he got away with the slap on the wrist. Jordan Addison, will he get a punishment from the league? Not sure. Will Rashee Rice? Probably. Based on his, what they gave him in the court, I doubt it'll be much. 2, 3, 4 game suspension max. No way it's 6. I mean, he didn't hurt. I guess he did kind of hurt people, but he didn't Henry Ruggs him. So I don't anticipate he's going to get this crazy sit or wait or anything like that. I think it'll just be kind of a, come back in 2 or 3 weeks and we'll see you there. But yeah, I'm sure both are likely to face NFL suspensions. Maybe Jordan Addison, maybe, but I think the NFL gets weird about that stuff. They probably will. So overall, that's kind of it for everything I prepared for today. I'm just so pumped to be back. So pumped to be back in the chair. I know that was more just news and regurgitation, some minor, some subtle injection of opinion. I'll definitely be adding more context to these videos and a lot of these talking points, but this is my first video back for the summer. As the season really starts to kick off tomorrow and all 32 teams will have all veterans reporting to training camp. So, as always, let's talk some football, and we'll see you soon. Love you.